Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Why is this happening to you? This might be happening for 100 reasons. You're not going to be told why it's happening because there's lots of money to be made in this industry of organized harassment and torture. Usually it's one of 5 categories: government-sponsored, corporation hired a private contractor, organized crime, municipalities or cities, or training new regional managers of the program. Government-sponsored category is obviously because the government does not like you. You might have made them believe you're a terrorist. The government might see you as an obstacle that is gaining more influence than they think they can safely manage. If you found out some secret information and might be at risk for leaking it, if you did leak government information. Lots of people who are targets of this program are former military or intelligence. Lots of homeless people who are former military are targets of this abuse because they leaked information and the government buried them. Lots of these military and intelligence victims of this program are true patriots. Most of them are just trying to get out information about government abuses and failed in getting the word out before they were surrounded. Edward Snowden is a success story. There are many failed attempts at the same action. Corporation hired a private contractor or third party. This is a service that private military contractors and private intelligence companies offer many Fortune 500 companies. These companies reach out to the specialist to silence whistleblowers, to discredit companies and inventors whom they have stolen intellectual property from, or even to cause damage to a competitor by harassing one of their lead engineers or designers, keeping them with a competitive advantage. Organized crime who were taught by former managers of this program who now went private sector, or taught a certain mafia cartel the skillet for a price. The criminal organization then used their new skill set to discredit people who are witness to their crimes, and even to commit life insurance fraud by making someone perceived to have mental illness, or use the training to make them a social pariah. This criminal organization will then put into place measures to deplete the health of the target victim, but doing away so it looks like natural causes, usually by inducing cancer or some sort of specific organ failure. But that looks like a natural cause. 6 to 8 months after the person has died, a large, substantial, illegally obtained life insurance policy will be cashed out. Municipalities or cities will participate in many facets of the Counterintelligence program. 2.0 program for gentrification to push certain people out of the community to obtain land or houses. Cities will engage a target for community social health purposes, or taking out the trash, as most put it in these illegal kangaroo court committees. These committees are private and self-appointed, and in cities with ingrained corruption into the municipality. There is not a paper trail, usually, considering the numerous federal crimes committed to engage a target. Some loosely put together some sort of kangaroo court and elect certain people from the community they think deserve mistreatment, or need to be moved for gentrification reasons. Sheriffs, judges, mayors, and even local politicians are also involved in the decision of who to target. Training a new head or regional director of the Counterintelligence 2.0 program, it's also a reason why you can be under this abuse. Usually people on the fringes of society or introverted hermits that don't have a voice or funds to make a noise about the abuse are used to train on and teach new managers this program. They are taught how to use each discipline of the Counterintelligence 2.0 program efficiently and how to cover up evidence of the abuse. Just being good at the abuse isn't an effective unless you know how to cover it up or fix a mistake where the target has recorded abuse that will get them out of their torture. This program in its more common and intense forms involves exposure to microwaves and X-rays, gamma-ray radiation, financial ruin, character assassination, drugging, entrapment, and psychological torture. The honking campaign is the mildest and rarest form of organized abuse towards a target. Most targets' health is severely damaged, reputations are dragged through the dirt, relationships are destroyed, career and finances are blacklisted and squandered trying to fight the abuse. Many people who have the situational awareness that they are a victim of this abuse have been fighting a battle you know nothing about, and only somebody who's truly been to the program can sympathize. How to solve your problem. Logging the abuse. Video, pictures that tell a story, logs of illegal access to online accounts, Bank records, credit report records, identity theft proof, recorded phone calls, screenshots or video of your computer or device screens from Internet NSA contractors harassing you online or modifying your computer/device. Keeping records of changes in your health after events happen. White blood cell, dips during radiation exposure, blood work, organ functionality, changes in what you're allergic to, hair loss, immunity, heart rate and heart-related illness, blood pressure, onset of kidney, liver, pancreatic or gallbladder problems. Brain scan to check for cranial radiation exposure to induce cancer, strokes, lesions, water on the brain. Nerve damage caused by radiation exposure. Trying to log events with the police department. If they won't write a report because there is little evidence, ask them for an incident report. It's a report based on your testimony, not evidence, but it's still logged into the law enforcement database. Getting a lawyer. If no money, reach out to ACLU. Reaching out to reporter with your body of evidence, asking them to do a story on you with your full name in it and where the abuse is happening/originated. It's been covered by Vice. There have been countless documentaries about it, and there is a growing number of survivors trying to reach out online to others. Some call it gangstalking, mobbing, or contract harassment. Ultimately, it's a method of torture that uses a system of abuse the FBI used for decades up until it was declassified during the Nixon administration. The methods employ psychological warfare techniques meant to degrade your life and break your will, known by those contracted to do it as a celebrity cruise, but its original name was CO Intel Pro or Counterintelligence Program. Counterintelligence Program was declassified during the Nixon administration. The tactics were originally created as a recipe any federal or regional government organization within its jurisdiction could easily replicate to disrupt. Counterintelligence program was used on the Black Panther political parties and to squash Communist Party organizers in the United States during the 60s and 70s, but later these skills got passed down to private sector security contractors as public sector intel employees who went to the private sector. During the 80s, 90s, and early to 2000s, these tactics were turned inward to squash anti-government dissidents, government leakers, and even to destroy personal and political rivals. The best way to understand how the FBI counterintelligence program works is to set the scene. We're going to create a hypothetical situation that will run parallel to a person's life. We will call her Heather, and then show you the simple tactics and the subtle nudges that are used to discredit truthsayers, assassinate someone's character, and leave them with nothing, not even their health in the end. This initial introduction will show how a person's actions can be manipulated to leave a person without a support network to help them. I will show you how in just 4 days, these tactics can start removing cornerstones in a person's life. I personally have gone through this experience myself, and I'm still reverse engineering the damage done, but I would like to pass on what I have learned to you. So please, use this information purely for educational uses, not to hurt your enemies or cause harm to anyone you might consider your adversary for any reason. Setting the scene. Imagine you're living your day-to-day life, and you're in your car getting into a heated argument with a friend. After the clash, you part ways and go home to go to sleep because you have work in the morning. On your way to work the next day, you stop to get a coffee, and while you're waiting in line, somebody behind you repeats verbatim and mockingly the most heated moment of yesterday's argument. You turn around and the person smiles, coughs twice, and leaves. This is usually the beginning of the victim's awareness of their celebrity cruise or counterintelligence program ride has started. That first encounter seems weird, but you shrug it off. You mentioned it to your significant other later that day. Later that night, you're on your phone and you notice a story in your feed mentioning how your significant other is more likely to cheat in the morning. Before you go to bed, your partner will tell you they're going to meet a friend at the gym in the morning, and it puts you on guard. In the morning, you're driving to work in your car playing Pandora radio, and a commercial for a local private investigator that specializes in cheating spouses comes on in between songs. On your lunch break, you realize your partner hasn't called you all day. And as you scroll your feeds on your lunch break, you see a comment mentioning how you are abusing your mentor position at church and that no one likes you. You shake it off, save the post to comment later, then go back to work. You get to your desk, and shortly after one of your clients calls and chews you out for an unfulfilled purchase order, the person yells at you and is very rude, then hangs up. At the end of work, you notice your significant other still hasn't called you, which makes you suspicious by this time, and you pick up dinner. Before going home and while in line at the grocery store, a stranger says your name while having a conversation with another person, but to mention in the conversation how her friend had to leave her church group to save her marriage. On your way home, your streaming service plays nothing but songs about cheating boyfriends. You get home and see your significant other with another person of the opposite sex. You get out of the car, your spouse says his phone didn't work all day for some reason, and his card isn't working, so he couldn't buy gas. That's why the person, who is also female, drove him home, not to mention she is a new client of his. You both get in the house and an argument starts. You accuse your spouse of cheating, she gets mad and leaves. You eat dinner by yourself, go back and check on that negative comment you saw online at lunch, but it's not there anymore. Suddenly, you're waking up, not remembering falling asleep, and you hear a noise in your house, so you call out your spouse with no answer. Hear a door slam, then silence. You text your partner, "Why'd you leave?" They reply, "I haven't been back and I'm still mad, talk to you later." Now that you know that wasn't your spouse, you check your house, find nothing but the lights on and open cabinet doors but nothing missing. You call the cops, they check the house and see nothing missing or out of place. The police then ask you things like if you've been abusing alcohol or drugs. You reply in defense of yourself, but the cops refuse to file a report since they've seen nothing like a threat, and asked if you would like to see a psychiatrist. You refuse, claim you're not crazy, and they leave. So, now you're unable to sleep now and go to work as the morning arrives. After you arrive, your boss asks to meet you, tells you a large client you maintain called and is taking her business elsewhere, and because of this, you are fired. You clean out your office, and now you're on your way home to a house you don't feel safe in. Upon arriving, you see that your significant other is moving his stuff out while you were at work, and after another fight, he leaves. Now, home alone in your house, stressed out and not feeling safe, you try to wind down with some wine in your Harvard College sweats and watch some TV. Pull out your phone and scroll your feeds and begin seeing ads for the exact same Harvard sweatshirt you're wearing. You're getting creeped out by that, so you go to Reddit to get away from your social media and start seeing posts about, "How did you cause your breakup?" Then a post about how, unless you went to Harvard, you shouldn't wear the sweatshirt. But after that, I post about, "My friend Heather is a screw-up. How should I tell her?" Okay, a little creepy, but you clicked on it because you're curious. Is start to scroll down on the comments, restart off, mention how horrible Heather is, saying that she's a screw-up at work, another saying that she's a wino and never be smart enough to go to Harvard. You have now reached situational awareness. You are being watched, and your watchers feel like they are in such a good position to do so that they can directly ridicule you. Your phone freezes up, then turns off, but you already know now that you're being watched right now. The situational awareness stage is about 6 months to a year into your counterintelligence program, aka Celebrity Cruise. But most importantly, now you know you have an enemy who's embedded themselves in your life. So now let's backtrack through the past 4 days in the breakdown of what's happened here, and the way Heather's life was hijacked and simple methods to invade her life without her knowing. A brief explanation. So day 1 wasn't actually day 1. Previous to day 1, Heather's background was gone through with a fine-toothed comb for about 6 weeks to 6 months prior. Her friends, family, and associates were thoroughly researched and have been possibly contacted by her provocateurs, posing as new church members, local neighbors, and concerned police, claiming to care about Heather's well-being. Her computer and phone were hacked into, as well as other smart devices. Overall, data has been getting gathered via her phone and personal network much longer than she understands. So, for all intents and purposes, you can start to understand where something strange can seem like just a coincidence, and quickly start to pop up over and over again. Monday, the stranger at the coffee shop heard her car argument live via a hot mic from her phone, which is why he was able to mock the tone, timing, and words with such accuracy, ensuring she would take notice. Then, later that night on her phone, she was getting shown clickbaity stories about her significant other cheating. Most likely was some evolution of the PRISM software Edward Snowden is so famously known for revealing. Coincidentally, Heather's partner also tells her that he is leaving to meet a friend in the morning. This probably means his phone is also hacked, and the people who've been contracted to manipulate Heather's internet are using information from a phone call he had earlier that day. So, what would be a normal situation now has been seeded with doubt for Heather. Something that would have tipped Heather off would be the dates of the posts, because the news article she read from her feed about cheating spouses in the morning was actually from months prior. This allows it to look like the algorithm picked the story and wasn't injected into her feed. One of the tricks this social media feed tweaking software does is inject things into your news feed, hoping to give you an emotional response, or even something called behavioral priming. Something you see as just an algorithm to put content in your feed can be edited and hijacked to nudge your behavior. Day 3, when Heather was listening to music on the phone, advanced Prism-like software and industry-level backdoors have now turned every app, notification, and even function in Heather's phone into something that can be easily edited. Her phone is less of a pocket computer and now more of a window of what they want Heather to see and hear. Later that day, our Mark, Heather, sees comments that bad-mouth her activities at church. Then later that night, it's gone. The official name for this is the sock puppet account, and this kind of tactic is used to get a response. Then delete the original comments, so just your crass comments to the harassment are left for your friends to see. But the sock puppets are gone. Sock puppet refers to accounts on social media that seem friendly, or ones that you follow but aren't in fact copies, or mirrors of friends' accounts used to cause strife, confusion, or give you conflict-igniting information, and then remove it after the objective is met. The lady on the phone at work probably did send her order in time, and Heather did her job too, but this is what having a hacked computer will do to your performance at work. Once your work computer is hacked, an agent can hide files, use databases, and manage email as if they were sitting right there at the computer. This is possible by the creation of something called RAT or RAT software, short for Remote Access Tools. Believe it or not, presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke was a hacker in the group called Cult of the Dead Cow, which developed early versions of the software to backdoor and remotely operate Windows computers, much like how Heather's phone is being manipulated now. This software could have easily been installed by a cleaning service, malicious email, or even physical contact with the device weeks prior. We're moving fast, but we're going to go over each step in detail after this short explanation. And if you listen carefully to me explaining every element of this targeted harassment, you can build a congruent picture and even help others who don't understand they are targets of this abuse. Now the Mark, Heather, who is stressing about her boyfriend, could also have had his phone controlled by this same backdoor software and had his SIM card copied. Regardless of the method to gain control, gatekeeping traffic such as messages, alerts, app traffic, etc., and depending on the hack could shut the phone off or even brick the device. Most people see your phone as a mini computer where you keep your personal info on and keep not so private things in the cloud. The reality is, your phone can be converted into just a window into the web. With the right access, a government worker or contractor can gain access, add and removes files, even remote control actions on your phone itself as the user. Moving on day 3, and Heather can't reach her boyfriend. She had a bad day at work, and now she's out the grocery store, and people start having a conversation right next to her, and she notices because she hears her name. Hearing your name is an obvious trigger, just like the phrase trigger warning. You hear a word or phrase that sets you off or grabs your attention. The way this was used was a harassment method called indirect conversation. This allows a person to address the target with information or harassing words without actually talking to them. Then use that opening listening channel to communicate an idea, whether it's harassing or something that the target can digest and associated with ideas later in the day that is also part of this harassment. On the way home, she listens to what seems random but is a very curated list of songs reinforcing seeds of ideas pertaining to possible infidelity of her spouse. So when she gets home and sees her other half with another woman, it triggers an emotional response associated with the idea that she must have a cheating partner. After her fight with her boyfriend, she's home alone and she eats her food, and then she wakes up some hours later. When she wakes up and the drama of the home intruder happens, it's coordinated, and her food was laced with a sedative at the actual restaurant. These little intrusions making her come to the realization that she is not safe, nor will her private life be. But she sure as hell can try and call the cops, who are most likely for sale, and they have no problem with screwing her over for a quick buck while she tries to fight this threat off. Day 4. Heather's sleep cycle, or circadian rhythm, has been now hijacked, and that booby trap at work that's been set with the pissed-off client is now costing Heather her job. She goes home to a now empty house she no longer feels safe in, and she is well aware that she is being watched, and the police will not help her. This puts her at the beginning of what is called a pit of despair mindset, or conditioned helplessness, and the beginnings of years of her life wasted. She will extinguish all her resources and relationships trying to fight this. Does this sound like somebody you know? Could you be getting into a career where telling the truth is an option you're always going to take? If this sounds like you or somebody you know, or if you're just curious of how this formula for destroying a life is done, it's important for you to listen to me as I gave you a field guide for surviving Counterintelligence Program 2.0 torture. This is to lay a groundwork for expectations and understanding. We gave you a 360 for each piece of the recipe that can upheaval even millionaires and politicians, let alone an American citizen who has a high respect for exposing the truth. The feeling of they're everywhere.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.